Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is a boat that I am going to do in a day or two, not today. It showed up today and we chemically removed the water spots, and yet the water spots remained, or at least the oxidized shadow of them. So this is my attempt with Super Duty by 3M and a foam pad. It's a difference, but not as much. This is Super Duty. Sorry, I guess I'm going to walk around the boat a little bit and show you the worst parts. Nothing to look forward to. Anyway, this next test spot was Super Duty with a wool pad. Today I'd like to talk about the differences between the two, and I'd like to compare them to, say, Bruce Lee fighting Mike Tyson. Now you have to admit that on his best day, Bruce Lee would whip ass on Mike Tyson. And you'd have to admit that on his best day, Mike Tyson would whoop ass on Bruce Lee. They were both amazing in their prime. In this next video, I'm going to show you the use of a foam pad and a little bit of a wool pad.
Today I've got a Reinell. This thing has seen better days, but I think we're going to give it the beans and see if we can't fix her up. I've already taped off most of the non-skid. Where the cup is, there's a little bit more non-skid to tape off, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Filler cap, the little cleat on the side, window trim, and believe it or not, let's see, that used to be black. It probably had a shine to it. Of course, so did the rest of the boat. But even if I get there's the sun. You can kind of see it. All right. So you see how it's kind of gold color with a little orange border on it? That tells me that the oxidation's been there for quite some time. If it's just dull white, it's probably light, been there about a year. Anyway, nothing's different, everything's the same. I've taken off all the snaps on one side. I'll do one side of this boat at a time. So I've got one side taped off, I've got one side with the snaps out. I'll get started here with some heavy cut, maybe a little bit of perfect it. Might be using a foam pad, who knows? Whatever it takes, that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, this. Yeesh.
All right, welcome back. You're going to find that a lot of people, boaters mostly, call this the bow. This is the bow. If you don't own a boat, you call this the front. And whether you own a boat or whether you don't own a boat, I call this part the nose. And I'll be honest, when I'm detailing a boat like this, I really focus on the nose. I don't know why, but for me, it's part of my OCD. It has to be perfect. Even if the rest of the boat looks like complete, total garbage, I need that nose to look better than it did when it came out of the mold. So you're going to see me do a lot of stuff going back and forth and cross-cutting and doing my edges first and blah, blah, blah. And you'll see me come back almost every time and touch that nose, either the port side or the starboard side or straight down the middle. It's just my thing, and I apologize. Also, the owner told me that this black stripe was a decal, and it was really faded, and he said, could you please try to get it out? Now, it's also bordered by really, really thin pinstriping. I was a bit nervous to get that out, and I didn't want to use the foam pad, but I thought that I could be gentle enough that I could get that decal to shine while not putting up too much heat on the pinstripe to burn it off. By about the 5th or 6th pass, I realized that it probably wasn't a decal that I could get back. The funny part about all of that is, about the 12th to 13th pass, I realized, I don't think this is a decal at all. I think it's Gelcoat. It's just really, really, really oxidized Gelcoat because everyone thought it was a decal and they never waxed it or compounded it or did anything to it because, quite honestly, for a decal, a lot of people don't like to touch them because you can ruin them. And if you ruin a decal on a boat like this, especially this type of decal, you're pretty much going to ruin the entire look of the boat. So a lot of detailers are a little tentative in touching stuff like that. I, on the other hand, go balls out every single time. So it might take me a couple seconds to look at it, figure out what it is I'm going to do, but then I get the F to it. I'll be honest, I actually thought about speeding this part of the video up about 1.5 times just to make it a little bit quicker for you guys so that you wouldn't have to sit through 35 minutes of me doing this. You have the option through YouTube to change the speed. Somewhere on the screen there's a setting for that, and if you want to make this a little bit faster, I think you can do it, and the sound actually increases also with the speed that you're going. So don't set it up to like twice as fast because then you won't be able to understand what I'm saying. But if you set it to 1.5 times, you can hear what I'm saying kind of like this. And if I talk really fast, you can still understand what I'm saying. And if you want to do it, you can. It's your choice. But I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. And the only way I can do that is to actually hope, maybe, you to sit there and watch this. That's why I'm doing it. So I apologize if you get bored during this. I assure you there were times when I got bored just doing it, but for some reason you were the one who searched for boat detailing or Gelcoat restoration or whatever it is you searched for to get you here, and I figure you earned the right to see exactly what you came to see. Anyway, I'm not going to speed it up. I'm going to keep it the same speed that it is now, which is actual speed. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comment section. If you don't have questions and you'd like to leave a thumbs up, that'd be swell. And if you want to leave a thumbs down, just feel free, but leave a comment. Otherwise, what were you angry at? Like the flavor of bubblegum in your mouth, or the shirt that I got on, the music that I play? It's not my music. I'm just using copyright-free music. Anyway, edges first, cross-cut. It's all the same stuff, guys. You've seen this before, and you're going to see it again. What we're showing here is the, laser precision that you can get with a foam pad, or, as I've said before, the Bruce Lee of the buffing world. And while it has the ability to do some really amazing things, in fact, right here I'm getting a really nice cut, and it's just leaving behind the most glorious even shine. However, on the black stripe, it pretty much just bounced off. It took almost 3 hours to get this black stripe to shine up on the port side. And what really set me off was the very next time I touched it with a pad, I used a wool pad and a little bit of heavy cut, and boom, blackness. So it reminded me that sometimes foam pads just don't have the punch. They lack the power to get the job done. Whereas a wool pad has all the power in the world, but sometimes lacks the precision that people want to have in their chosen pad applicator contact point with the boat. I like both. I think that if you get really good with a wool pad, you can use anything. Also, if you get really good with a foam pad, you can use pretty much anything. Foam pads build up lots of heat. They're generally not what I would consider safe for a beginner. They're slightly expensive considering their lifespan. Anything that they hit screws, snaps, cleats, just destroys them. So I generally don't use them all that often. And if people ask me, hey, should I use a foam pad? For the most part, as a general rule, I'll say no. I don't think that it's something that an amateur needs to really get into with a foam pad. Unless you've got a really nicely polished boat to begin with, then yeah, go ahead and try a foam pad. Just understand some things, understand how they work and how they can be dangerous, and then go have fun. As a detailer for many years, there's a couple things that I enjoy when I'm working. One of them is sometimes you get a chance to do like the perfect buff around, and here we go. Stuff like this kind of gets me going. And then just, I don't know, every now and then you get these really nice flow lines and things just start to work and everything seems to go your way. And today, that was basically happening on the white and the white only. The black was still giving me hellacious problems, and it was probably playing in the back of my mind. What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do to get it looking the way that I want it to look? This glossy black thing that I got in my head isn't coming out, and I wasn't quite sure how I was going to tackle it. But like I said, later on, I just decided to cave in and admit that sometimes you need Mike Tyson to come in and just punch somebody's face clear through the back of their skull, and that's what I did. Heavy cut, wool pad, there it was. And all the while, I'm trying to not think about it too much, but every couple feet, I'll dig into that black, trying to see what I can get out of the Perfected and the foam pad, but being very careful not to put too much pressure, not too much speed on those little teeny pinstripes. So I was kind of fighting two things. One, I was using a foam pad. Two, I was trying to protect the pinstripes. I admit, I contacted the owner and asked him, is it okay for me to go a little bit harder? And when he asked, why is that a question that you should ask? And I told him, I might be burning through some pinstripe. He said, go ahead and burn through pinstripe. I don't care. I can replace pinstripe. To which I gave him the old thumbs up and went to town. But that comes up a little bit later. I should also apologize. I did not place the camera in a position that would show you exactly what type of shine or reflection I was able to get at this point. I wanted to show you the, I guess, Bruce Lee-ish nature of a foam pad, being able to work around hinges and cleats and lights and work on some different angles. So I didn't really think to highlight the reflection. The camera should be to my right by about 3 feet to highlight the reflection of the sun for you. And as soon as I'm done, I think with this little half section around this cleat that I've taped off, I think we move the camera. So you'll get a much better angle and you'll get to see some of the results of each one of the passes. If you guys are wondering why I picked this song, it's basically because I'm running out of copyright-free music, and I'm at like 190 some odd videos. So yeah, I'm gonna have to recycle some stuff pretty soon. You're gonna hear some old tunes coming back. I hope you don't mind. It's, again, I shouldn't have to do any of this. I'm a gosh dang detailer, not a videographer. And yet, the only way to get the news out that there's other ways to do this than wet sand is to kind of hype it up so that the younger generation is entertained enough to look at it and go, oh yeah, I guess that is possible. The older generation, I think you guys know that this is possible. It's just you haven't seen it done, which is weird because this seems so simple to me. There's a long, long story about how I came to the technique that I've developed for gelcoat repair. I'll probably put it down in writing someday. It was an interesting day, I can assure you, and I had actually quit and given up. I figured I was no longer a detailer. I met a boat that I couldn't make shine, doing everything that I thought that I knew to do to make it shine, and one day I had a Zen moment, and that was a long, long time ago, and it built an empire. Not that I get to share in any of the spoils of that empire, because the Empress, well, anyway, there's a process for all that. Right now, let's talk about the process for this gelcoat, shall we? If you ever want to learn how to do this, I have access to literally about 30 boats at any one time, ranging from ski boats to cuddy cabins to flybridge boats, white, black, red, blue, green, old, new, whatever you got. If you want to learn how to do something on a boat, and you want somebody who's done this for almost 15 years to a level of success that not many people have ever achieved, please let me know and we'll set something up. I've got 2 guys right now interested in showing up, one in I think June and one maybe in a couple weeks. So I'll film those and you guys can see how that goes. I'll also ask them to do maybe a follow-up video or maybe answer some questions on a video that I do. Although that's kind of awkward. I don't want them to think that I'm like needing them to say certain things. So I'd rather they did it on their own just to make it seem more legit. But you can see if they had a good time, if they learned something, if I actually know what I'm doing, yeah. If you want to show up, let me know. So one of the neat things with a foam pad is if you've already worked the compound on the surface and you got it spread out really nice and you've maybe done a couple passes and you've got it a little bit glossy, just a little bit, you can, as long as you keep moving, while moving back and forth, you can find the right angle and the right speed, and you can just lock that angle and lock that speed and just walk that buffer back. And you can look at the reflection on the back end, the trailing end, of the buffer as you slide it across the gelcoat, and the sun's reflection in it will tell you everything you need to know about that surface, how much longer you have to go, do you need more compound, is your 401k all right, is COVID going to get worse. All that is in the tailing swirl or gloss from your buffer. It's all in there, and if you look at it and you know exactly what to look for, you can tell how much longer you have to go, how much harder you should push, or if you've already achieved exactly what you're looking for, which everyone says perfection. I'm just going to call it perfection. It's not perfect. There's nothing perfect. It's just really, really good, or just and just doesn't cut it. So we go for really, really good. So I put that stripe of compound just below that black stripe. And the reason I did that again is just because sometimes during the heat of the day, black anything with compound on it can leave that compound line that you put in there semi-permanently. It really can etch itself in there. And as much as I thought that I was a good detailer, and I know that I got Bruce Lee with me, he wasn't able to beat up this black stripe any more than put a gloss to it. So this is what I consider a satiny gloss. And that's fine for a lot of boaters and a lot of boat detailers. A satiny gloss is better than they had before, and as long as it's uniform and even throughout the entire boat, most people don't care. I care, because I know that better is out there, and I know that I can achieve it. So to not achieve it, grumpy sauce. So if you see me trying something again and again and again, just chalk it up to the fact that I got Bruce Lee with me, and for some reason, we're still fighting this guy. And I keep thinking, do that cool nunchuck thing, Bruce. What's up? But no, it's just black stripe, semi glossy, just kind of has a sheen to it. Anyway, while you're working a foam pad, you can try some things that you don't normally try with a wool pad. So foam pads generally don't grab nearly as hard underneath stanchions and stainless steel and cleats as a foam pad does, or as a wool pad does. So you can get in and around some places. Also, that backing plate makes it really easy to get in and around some places. The foam pad, as long as it's perfectly centered, can get you almost a laser's precision edge cleaning, facet digging kind of action. It also, if you'll watch the buffer, the surface of the buffer wheel, as it's passing over some contours, it's actually following those contours as it rotates. A wool pad generally won't do that. It will to an extent, but a foam pad, being that it has a lot of bounce back, or because it's a rubberized plastic, some flex to it, it can conform to a surface a lot better than a wool pad. So, Bruce Lee, what did he say? Be like water. If water's in a cup, it becomes the cup. If it's in the ocean, it becomes, I don't know exactly what he said, but something like that. And you see it right here. Here's the pad kind of bending in almost an S fashion from the flat top to the curved side, and then kind of back out right above that black stripe. This is the power of a foam pad. If you need something contoured, polished, and you have the time and the patience, you can attack it with a foam pad. Now, I'm using Perfected ACEX or EXAC. I really don't care. I probably could have and should have used 3M's Heavy Cut or Presta or Level R with a foam pad, and it would have done a little bit faster, possibly a better job, at least on that black stripe, but definitely a faster job. I went with kind of a finishing compound, although 3M has 2 more compounds after that, which should never be used on a boat unless the boat is painted. That being said, I could have saved a little bit of time going with this Heavy Cut. I chose to use Perfected because I know the results of that on white with a foam pad. I should have possibly thought about it for the black. Instead, I dealt with this glossy sheen on the black, and I was getting some really good reflections off the white, and I thought, if nothing else, I'll just come back and touch the black separately with something else. That was my thinking anyway. By the way, we're 25 minutes into this video, and I'd like to say thanks for hanging in here. Thanks for sitting back, and I know some of you guys have sent me messages saying that you've watched entire videos of mine, and I'm a little bit embarrassed, quite honestly. Some of these videos are just showing the stupidest things, and other videos are just me stroking my ego, and other videos are showing you things that I guess nobody cares about. But if you have stuck it out, I'm thankful because I spend a decent amount of time doing these, and it feels good knowing that somebody gets something out of them. And if you got nothing else other than a laugh, that's great. By the way, I'm growing my hair out. Not because I want to, I just wanted to see what it would look like. So it's not that I want to see what it looks like, I'm just curious. So there's no want to it. COVID and being single have made it so that I just thought, yeah, why not? I'll try it. My ex-girlfriend, I forget her name, but she never liked me to have long hair. She always wanted me to have short hair, and I did everything pretty much that she wanted, including give her all my money. And 15 years later, I'm thinking, I can grow my own hair out and keep my own money. So anyway, there's a whole thing, and we've touched on it earlier before, and I apologize if you guys have watched any of these videos, but clearly at 27 minutes into this, I gotta talk about something. So I figured the hair was a good segue into life. No, probably not. Anyway, here goes the Bruce Lee pad again, touching on a little teeny facet right above that black stripe. And it does a really good job of getting in there. And then as you start to flatten out, you can smooth like crazy on this white. And you can kind of put it up on a little bit of an edge. But even when you do, the foam pad contours itself slightly to conform to the contours of the boat. And so it makes it really kind of organic. I don't know how else to put it. As you're sliding this over the surface, you can feel it grab the boat, kind of hold on to it as it spins. And with that, you get a lot of feedback on the buffer head. You get a feedback in the trailing hand. You get a feedback in the sound, and you definitely get a feedback in the reflection that you see while you're doing this. Back and forth, back and forth. You can see what's happening because unlike a wool pad, the foam pad has a very uniform finish in the trailing, gloss, smear, whatever you want to call it. After you've run the buffer from one side to the other, if you look at the trailing edge of the buffer wheel, what it leaves behind is very uniform because the wheel is very uniform. Oh, yeah, you can also polish stainless. Do you see that? Bling! With a wool pad, you get you get the randomness of the wool as it's patterned on the wheel. So it's not perfect. It's fairly patterned, but it's not perfect. Whereas with the foam pad, it's almost perfect. Especially if, like I said, you center it absolutely perfectly. You can definitely get a fairly decent smear, and it looks very perfect and uniform, and so it's easy to tell the difference from one pass to the next without wondering, oh, is that because the wheel's dry? We're talking about a wool pad. Is the wheel dry? Did I dip it too hard in that one corner and now the mat is gone? Is it too oily? It's just foam pad, perfection. However, definitely doesn't have a mule kick when it comes to punching. All right, Tilbo Views, I have a question for you. I don't know what it's like in your boating community, but around here, people like to put their registration stickers on right over the old registration sticker year after year after year. I pulled off one from a boat from 1995. It was almost I'd say a 1/4 inch thick. It reminds me of when kids in school used to go skiing. They would collect the lift tickets on their coat zipper just to show how cool they were, that they got to go skiing all the time. Pompous a-holes. Anyway, I think maybe that's what boaters do, but get rid of this stack of stickers, man. Come on. Buffers, buffer wheels. Even the wool ones don't like this stuff. They break off because nobody ever gets them on just perfect to completely cover the last one. So there's always this little overhang. That little piece of sticker gets flung off and thrown onto your buffer pad, and then it slides around the surface, and it's just aggravating. Beyond that, why? do you need a 1/4 inch of sticker sticking off the side of your boat when a couple millimeters of sticker would do just fine? Just a question. Maybe we can talk to our customers and, as a group of detailers, convince people to stop doing this. So annoying. Almost exasperating. Hey, you guys, remember when I said there's somewhere on YouTube, somewhere on your homepage where you can adjust the speed of the playback? Go ahead. You guys have earned it. It's like 31 minutes into this video, and it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to go back and forth with some compound and a wheel. Bing, bang, boom. Boat gets clean. Snap, snap, snap. There's some wax on it. Looks good. No? Not going to fast forward it? Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I don't have anything really fun, or there's no anecdote that I can think of at the moment to like happy you up, except for that black stripe. I'm really excited because the owner again thought it was a decal and he picks it up tomorrow. So I can't wait to see him and be like, "Oh my gosh, that decal." And then, "No, sir, that is not a decal." That'll be fun. We've only got about 3.5 minutes left of this video, and I just wanted to say I didn't show very much on the starboard side with the wool pad, how I did what I did. Imagine that everything that I'm doing here, everything that you're seeing with the foam pad, I did on the other side with a wool pad. It simply went about twice as fast. Now this side turned out swirl free, and I'm happy for that. The black stripe, on the other hand, was the bane of my existence for a good 2 to maybe even 3 hours of that day. The other side is just as bad as this side, but it went by in about 2 hours. The entire side, top and bottom. Actually, that's not fair. The bottom was done by another guy. I did the top side. So total, it probably took 4 hours to do the entire boat on the starboard side. And probably about 5 hours on the port side. Mostly because I was trying to get fancy fighting with Bruce Lee when actually I should have been using Mike Tyson. See? After 15 years, sometimes even I don't know. So if I give you advice or if you hear advice, it's not your fault if you can't get it right. Every boat is different. Every single one is different. They're similar. Some of them are similar, but they're different. Now here I'm trying to catch the reflection in the white Gelcoat. I apologize, I'm in the shade or wasn't able to catch it. But the boat came out really, really nice. And on the other side, you'll see what it looked like before we touched it. When you look at this black stripe on the starboard side, just know that it was a Super Duty compound with a wool pad, and this is the results of one pass. This is how I knew that I had obviously chosen the wrong pad the first time, and so I finished the rest of the boat with a wool pad, and these are the results. Again, I apologize for not showing you exactly what I did, but it was the exact same things that I did with a foam pad, just with a wool pad, so I didn't think that I needed to be so redundant to show you the difference with a foam pad and a wool pad. Just know that starboard side, wool pad, port side, foam pad with a little bit of love along this black stripe from a wool pad, a very angry wool pad. I think you'll at least agree that the boat looks good. I moved it around a little bit here to catch the sun that was still remaining. You'll see a swirl that goes north to south through that sun dot. That's mostly because I wiped the boat from left to right. Had I wiped it from north to south, you'd see a lateral line. Now, this is about a 2-inch strip, and I just wanted to show you the shine that travels down the snaps. This is why I take the snaps out. Guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, have a great day. God bless.